Welcome to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend, Matt.
I've got a D20 I'm going to roll.
Okay.
If I get a nat 1, the podcast is over.
I hate that.
It's a 2!
Oh my god. What were we going to do?
And the podcast, obviously.
Okay, alright.
Anyway,
yeah.
That's what it feels like to play Baldur's Gate.
That exact emotion, that
Yep.
fear, that fear of just waiting. Oh god, please let us not land on anything bad, please. Anyways, welcome everyone to another episode, season 5, episode 2 of the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. What a week. Fun week.
It's been a week.
It's been a week.
Football happened.
Football happened. We are now 16 games more educated on the 2023 season. And of course, we got a lot of overreactions that people are going to probably use a lot and say a lot during the course of the week. And I'm sure we'll have some overreactions this week as we discuss what went on. If you're new to us doing these weekly Virtual Ball Boys podcasts talking about the NFL, each week we come to the table with 3 games that we want to talk about. We have one that's called the Game of the Week. We have one that's the Blowout of the Week. And then we have the third game, my personal favorite, the Chaos of the Week. Chaos, of course, being the team, an upset that happened that I found very fascinating. We also have a segment that is from, at least for this episode, and that's not going to show up again, I don't think, for this season, but a segment that we've done in the past called You Know What's Weird, and it's kind of our way to kind of talk about more games. And so that we're going to do that this week, and then, of course, we'll give our week 2 picks. But why don't we start with the Game of the Week? And initially I had here Dolphins-Chargers, because I thought that was an exceptional game. A lot of fun. In fact, probably a better game overall. But, man, we gotta talk about this Bills-Jets game.
Yeah.
Because shit happened. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're an avid football fan, so everything I'm about to say, you probably already know already, but just to state for the record, the Aaron Rodgers era of the Jets started. And then the Bills had one drive before, and then he got his first drive. He got first down, second down, and then on third down, or right before third down, Aaron Rodgers got down, basically collapsed to the turf, and it turns out that on a Leonard Floyd sack, Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles, and he is out for the year with that. And I think a lot of people at that very moment were like, well, it's over. That the Jets season is over, and they're going to lose this game and lose a lot of games because they no longer have a quarterback. Not so fast, because Josh Allen happened, one thing, a bad Josh Allen, and a defense that we knew was going to be good coming into the year, but ended up being spectacular in this game, along with some offensive weapons that showed up and are some of the best young weapons in the league. And it got the Jets into a position where they took the lead on the Bills. The Bills then marched down, kicked a field goal, and it went to overtime. The Bills failed to convert on their offensive drive, and on a punt return, Xavier Gipson, who on Hard Knocks was told that he made the team, even though he was an undrafted rookie, and it was a great moment from that show. He was the one that returned a punt return touchdown that won the game for the Jets. And so the Jets walk away from this game with one of the most nightmarish nights in Jets history, but also one that I think will also be looked back fondly on in a weird way.
Yeah.
It's surreal. And Matt, I have been waiting to hear you talk to me about this game, because at first it's very funny. You weren't even watching when Aaron Rodgers.
I was not. I was playing Baldur's Gate, and I wasn't paying attention to the time.
Yeah.
And then both you and my dad texted me.
Yeah.
about what happened. I was like, holy shit, what the fuck? And I'm so upset that I missed that live. Just for like the in-person moment, not for any sort of personal sadistic reasons. But yeah, like that, like, so, first of all, the only reason, and I shouldn't say this like the only reason, holy shit, Josh Allen. The turnovers are, like, they were a problem last year, but he is getting into this, not quite Jameis Winston, but a Dak Prescott level of the turnovers are a problem and are costing your team the game that he didn't have. Well, he had his like rookie year when he started, but he hasn't had until like a little bit last year. So
a lot of people pointed out it was like his most chaotic performance since that Texans Bills game in the playoffs. Like that was that he was completely unhinged in that game. They ended up losing that one. But yeah, that was. It's been a while since we've seen this Josh Allen in this way. This was not a good Josh Allen moment. Yeah.
That said, great for the Jets and their defense. I also laugh at the Wisconsin bar that said that they would pay for people's tabs if the Jets lost. And then when Rodgers went down, everyone was piling up their tabs. And then the Jets won, so everyone all of a sudden got really sad that they had to pay for their beer.
That's very good. That's just really, really good. I really appreciate that story.
Anyway, as the resident Aaron Rodgers hater, listen, Aaron Rodgers has accomplished more in his lifetime than I ever will. That's just a fact. However, he is a stinky man who dangerously spread misinformation about the coronavirus and vaccines to a lot of people. And a lot of people believe him, and the side effects of that is like partially like just like a part of our society in general. But you know, it felt kind of cathartic in a way to see this guy with such a big ego. This is speaking for me, not for Chris. I don't know if Chris feels the same way.
Oh, but this guy, add me to the list.
Okay, cool. This guy with such a big ego. I'm upset that he got hurt. But hey, Aaron, you how's that ayahuasca going to treat your knee or treat your ankle? You gonna go to the medical yurt?
Yeah,
it's incredibly karmic. I feel horrible for Jets fans. I do not feel bad for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I'm like, I fully realize that we might be slightly evil people, but we're being kind of laughing at.
I'm a Bears fan. It's okay.
Yeah, right.
I have the past.
You've dealt with so much as the Bears fan that you just have turned to the dark side at this point, so it's fine. Yeah, no, I don't feel terrible for Aaron Rodgers. I feel bad for his teammates. I feel bad for Robert Saleh. I feel bad for the Jets organization and the fans. And they really were banking on this being the year for them. And they were banking on all this coming together and working out. And look, unless they get someone absurd in a trade or in a free agent pickup, if fucking Tom Brady comes out of retirement to play for the Jets, which would be the most funniest shit ever. But I don't think it is going to be very difficult for them to make the playoffs, let alone try to contend for the Super Bowl still. But I will say this, like, I think watching that game and seeing it was not just one player carrying the team after Aaron Rodgers went down.
Yeah.
It was Garrett Wilson with an amazing touchdown grab. Breece Hall, who was running up and down the field. It was
Breece Hall's amazing.
Jordan Whitehead with the interceptions, and it was Quinn Williams in the middle. It was a bunch of defenders just really kicking ass for the Jets, and I think that there is something to be said that, like, I still think the Jets are going to be a tough team to beat. I don't know if they're going to go. I don't know if they'll reach the playoffs again because of the situation and the circumstances and the timing of it all. Like it's really hard to think that they're going to go to distance. But I'm still kind of hopeful that they have some chaos in them. In a weird way, I'm rooting for the Jets harder now than I was on Friday. I guess like it has kind of turned a tide a little bit. But and yeah, like we talked about the Bills side of it. Obviously, the story right now for them is going to be if what's gonna happen moving forward. Is this the new normal with Josh Allen? It's week 1. I to be fair, the Bills have played like this against the Jets before. In fact, last year,
the Jets have an insanely good defense too. So
right, yeah, and like the Bills have also like they just have a very tough time beating their division rivals sometimes, and so I'm not gonna panic, but it was a bad game, and that's just the gist of it. Speaking of bad games. Blowout of the week was again,
I'm so glad that this happened after the Bears game.
Yeah, I get it. Cowboys at Giants. And watching that game, it started great. Giants were moving the ball down the field pretty nicely. They got it to around the 30-yard line. And then they started moving backwards after a botched snap, and then the field goal unit came out, and then that kick was blocked. Which, side note, the YouTube clip of that blocked kick, the NFL uploaded that video, with the title, "Blocked kick so good," and I wanted to.
No.
I wanted to.
Chris.
I wanted to end it.
Chris, why do they do that?
I don't know.
Why are they acknowledging NPC TikTok?
I don't know, and it gave off the what's happening on the trending sites energy, that just was incredibly disturbing to witness.
I've heard that described as the only possible explanation why people watch that is people who have an NPC fetish.
Oh, 1000%. So it's that is completely what it is. That whole trend. Anyways, that was the basically the end of the good side of the Giants, because the Cowboys then took that back for a touchdown, and then subsequently just completely crushed the Giants. It was one of the worst performances of a team in a singular game ever. I think there was an Athletic tweet going around. I'll find it when I hand the floor to you, Matt. But it essentially listed a bunch of things that a team has never done in a season that the Giants somehow miraculously pulled off in one game. It's brilliant.
Amazing.
It's just pure excellence. What was your thoughts on this game?
Well, I didn't watch the whole game.
Yeah.
Because it was over before it started, but just kind of seeing I think I turned it off when it was 40-0.
Yeah.
But it's been a I don't know. It was just what you expect, or not fully what you expected. My mind didn't quite connect its neurons in that sense. So
it's fine.
So we both thought the Cowboys would win, but this was such a dominating performance that I think only would have happened this hard because it was a divisional opponent.
Yeah.
If this was like Cowboys Vikings, I don't think it would have been 40-0. I think it would have been far less, but this is one that I feel like overall is just a massive fluke, but I think it also does show that the Cowboys are contenders.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at the positives on this game, it almost entirely is on the Cowboys side of the ball. Their offense didn't really perform all that amazingly in this game. A lot of the really they benefited from the Giants' offense playing as poorly as they did and getting good field position for the most part. But beyond that. Their defense is very good, and we've kind of known how good their defense has been for a while now, and it just kind of really further cemented that. We will still have to see how the offense ends up playing going into future weeks and when they face harder defenses. But yeah, no, this was a dominating effort. I found the tweet, by the way. It says no team has ever lost 40-0 or worse, lost the sack battle 7-0 or worse, lost the turnover battle 3-0 or worse, had a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown, threw a pick six in the same season. The Giants did it all in one game.
Amazing.
As for the Giants, look, resident Giants fan here, kind of entered the season with a little bit more optimism, and I still, even after how horrific everything was with this game, I still don't feel miserable yet. We'll see. I'll get there, I'm sure. But, like, I think it was a really, really bad loss, a wake-up call. I think what people have been trying to say about the Giants is that they outplayed their roster last year. They got to 10-7 because they were a team that had great coaching behind it, and ultimately that kind of carried them to that record and got them the playoff win, and that it was just a kind of a magical year for the Giants. Things just kind of broke their way. But this is still not a team that's at a level where they're anywhere close to Super Bowl contenders. In a weaker conference, yeah, maybe they still could make the playoffs, but this team is not talented enough. A lot of that has to do with how poorly their defense still is structured. But even the offense, if you saw how it functioned, like, it was as good as, as good of an offseason as it was for their offense. It's still not like this super rich, like, oh my god, no one's gonna stop them offense. It has some good parts, but against a very good defense, it gets completely exposed. I don't know. We'll see how the season unfolds. I do expect this team to regress from one season to the next still, but I'm hopeful. My biggest hope, and obviously it's not a good start, but my biggest hope is that this doesn't become a complete tire fire, because that's what happened between 2016 and 2017 when the Giants went to the playoffs, boat game. Lost to the Packers, and then the next season it just all went to shit, and it was so bad that the head coach and general manager were fired later that season. I think it's different circumstances this time, but even if it does go south, I really, really hope that they keep Brian Daboll and Joe Shane on for another year.
They've been doing a good job so far. I think they'll continue to build. I don't have a ton of long-term woes for the Giants.
That's my thing. I'm just like, yeah. I'm trying to keep my hopes up still and be like, I still believe in the regime.
Yeah.
And so even if this year is a wash, I just want it to be like there's some sort of level of improvement this year, and then of course the big test will be what happens next year. But again, it's week 1. Maybe this was just a bad week and then things turn around for them. Yeah. We'll see. Let's get to the chaos of the week. And there's quite a few options that we could have gone for this. I guess the Jets would have been qualified as one in some regards. But just going off of pure vibes, man. Lions at Chiefs is your chaos of the week. And Matt, I just want to give you the floor on this one.
Okay, so there is no fucking reason the Lions would have won. No fucking way the Lions win this game if Travis Kelce and Chris Jones play.
Yeah.
They won by a point, and 7 of those points came from Kadarius Toney not catching a ball that hit his hands that he was basically holding, and then Brian Branch, is on the Panthers. Brian Branch managed to catch it, run it in for a pick six. Like, that is, the Lions should not have won this game, but you know what, Chris? They won the game.
They did.
They won the game. And I think that the fact that they were able to go into Arrowhead and get that victory is nuts. I don't think that the Lions showed that they were this unstoppable force or anything.
Sure.
But this is the Dan Campbell team. Jahmyr Gibbs looks like an insanely good pick. We kind of clowned on it a little bit at the time, but he is electric. I think he and David Montgomery are going to be this insane rushing duo. Aiden Hutchinson and the aforementioned Brian Branch, like some young players on the defense that are going to make an impact. I see a lot of great future for this Lions team. As for the Chiefs, again, if Kelsey is in the game, Kelsey catches passes. Which is the one thing the Chiefs could not do, was catch the fucking ball. So, could have been totally different. But the way that it turned out, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney had maybe one of the all-time worst, from one game to the next transitions I've ever seen. He was a superstar in the Super Bowl, and then he just completely muffed the opportunity.
Yeah, especially immediately after getting into arguments with Giants fans on Twitter.
Yeah,
and then deleting his Twitter.
Yeah, that's not great either. Yeah, I to speak with what you're saying, like I definitely still have some concerns with the Lions. I think, namely, I still don't love their receiver room a ton. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but more so the depth there. Josh Reynolds had a great game.
Reynolds had a great game. Hopefully, when Jameson Williams gets back again, he can make an impact. Obviously, he's had the injury and then the suspension to start this season. So hasn't gotten the chance to have that first round potential that he was drafted to have. Yeah. So hopefully he'll be able to make an impact. Yeah. Once he comes back.
But if I'm being honest, that's really the only thing I'm super worried about. Like things kind of didn't look great at first in this game, and then the fourth down deep in your own territory decision to go for it, go for a fake punt and have it succeed. Like, that was just like the balls on Dan Campbell in that moment were large, and he had a great game overall. He had like maybe one more conservative call where he could have gone for it and he chose to punt later in the game, and that kind of maybe canceled out what he did earlier. But I still I just have so much faith in Campbell, and the defense looked great. Aiden Hutchinson had a great game as well. Like, and Jared Goff looks good, man. Like, I think he just kind of continues to be in, like, when he's in a good system, he plays very well, and I think that's if you get that out of him every single week, that's going to be a recipe for them to win the division. So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. But again, it's week 1, and so I'm excited for the Lions, but we'll see what happens moving forward. And I'm not at all worried about the Chiefs. They signed Chris Jones back, and they're probably gonna get Travis Kelce back.
Yeah, it's gonna be it is no concern for the Chiefs whatsoever. This is just like a what the fuck moment.
Yes, for sure. All right, let's move on to what's weird. Our little game. We're not really a game. We just kind of go back and forth and talk about some of the other stuff that unfolded in this NFL weekend. So, Matt, why don't you get us started?
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
You know what's weird?
What's that?
The Las Vegas Raiders are in first place in the AFC West. Because every other team lost to varying levels of degree. Do I think this will last? Absolutely not.
Yeah, no, I don't think it will.
But they're there now.
They are there now.
They will be next week.
They had a decent game, and I think Jimmy G looked good in that offense. Which is he knows Josh McDaniels. He knows that system well, so that makes sense. Their defense has also been pretty good. Leading up to this game, there was some concerning things happening with Chandler Jones. He did not play in this game, and we don't know what the status with him is going to be moving forward. But beyond that, it did feel like this team, the defense specifically, played very well in this game, and I'm intrigued. I'm not buying into them yet. I want to see what they do against. They face the Bills next week. Let's see what happens. But I'm like, okay, cool. You got the victory. Good on you. Good on you, Raiders.
Yeah.
Sitting in first place. Matt, you know what else is weird?
What's that?
why don't we talk more about how good of a player Tua Tagovailoa is?
Why don't we?
Because like he had a pretty decent year when he was healthy, and I know a lot of the annoyances is with his health and him not being able to stay healthy in a whole season. But I feel like he played better than Justin Herbert on Sunday, and both like Justin Herbert has been like one of the best young quarterbacks in the league the last few years, and I just feel like, man, the way that Tua played this game, it like you could chalk it up to how Mike McDaniel, is just very good at running in terms of how he schemes up his offense. But the throws that he made on Sunday were just like unreal. Like the way that he just his mobility and how he's able to kind of throw the ball with like this perfect precision to like deep down the field, and just how it just perfectly lands in the hands of Tyreek Hill. And it's just he's so good at this, and I really you kind of forget about that because there is the concern about him being an injury risk, and you have the concerns about the Dolphins, just some pieces maybe not being all together. Jalen Ramsey being out right now with his injury, won't be back until later in the season. But like, if this Dolphins team could be that high octane from a week to week basis, like I believe in them, and I think Tua playing the way he is, like I think he is secretly been one of the better quarterbacks in the last few seasons, and I think that he is going to just continue to get better, and I'm really, really, really hoping that he stays healthy.
Yeah, if Tua is healthy, the sky's the limit. I texted you after the first games, and I was like, the Dolphins are winning the Super Bowl. Like,
yeah.
This team, when they're at 100%, is incredible. This offense, at least, between Tua, Tyreek, and Waddle. I 100% agree. If Tua, when Tua is at his best, he cannot be stopped.
100%. He's just really proving it right now.
Yep.
And I think that people should pay attention to it. All right. Do you have
Hey Chris.
Yeah.
You know what crunches my crunchies?
Oh, what's that?
Tight ends.
Crunchy tight ends.
Crunchy tight ends. I'm a avid fantasy football player. The tight ends didn't do anything this week. Like at all. And I think it's just a weird week. But like, what do you do when Dallas Goedert doesn't score any fucking points? What are the main tight ends that you would expect to do something?
Yeah, that was a tough game though for them.
It was.
It's a good defense that they faced.
But Andrews and Kelsey didn't play.
Right.
And then Goddard didn't do anything. Hayden Hurst was one of the highest one of the highest tight ends this week. Like it just It doesn't make sense. What do we do?
Yeah,
what are we doing here?
I think the renaissance will come back next week when Travis Kelce is healthy. I think you're good on that front. Did George Kittle
Mark Andrews too?
Did George Kittle not do anything?
Not really.
Yeah.
You got the 2 touchdowns. Like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a receiver. It's really become a receiver-heavy league. I think tight ends. I mean, they were talking about it yesterday. Like the tight ends really were used a lot and are beginning to really like they've always been blockers, but like it feels like tight ends are becoming more useful in blocking situations, and that's mainly because it's getting harder and harder for teams to draft offensive linemen. They're just not at the size that they need to be when they come into the league, and the tight ends have kind of tried to further combat that in some capacity. It's we'll see what happens. Matt, you know what penetrates my offensive line?
Goodness. Do tell.
Maybe the Rams are actually good.
Maybe.
Maybe. I think this was obviously... If it wasn't going to be the Lions, it was going to be the Rams winning over the Seahawks. And I know I chaosed them, but that was... I did not think that was going to actually go through. That was more me just throwing something out there to maybe hope that something works out.
Yeah.
But I will say, Matthew Stafford's really good.
He's a good quarterback.
He had a really good, just really good drives all around for him. And then I'm really impressed by the younger receivers on this team that obviously have to play very well.
Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, they especially Nacua. Like he came out of nowhere. It feels like, and had just an excellent game. And so, I don't know. Maybe it was just like Seahawks being slow out of the gate. You know, the offense just not quite working out for them. But they did make the defense of the Rams not look that bad.
Yeah,
I think especially the front seven looked pretty good. And of course, Aaron Donald continues to wreak havoc as he always does. With this in this position, I think that again we're in the assumption that the NFC is generally going to be weaker than the AFC. The Rams have a chance if they can kind of keep in that 9 to 10 win range. Like, they could make a wild card run. They still have a difficult schedule. They still have to face some tougher opponents on their schedule, but it's not crazy to think that maybe Sean McVay, who is one of the better coaches in the league, has figured something out with the talent that he has, and that they could maybe do something very interesting this year.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me, and if the Seahawks unfortunately collapse, I'm going to be sad.
Yeah, I'm not there. I'm not there yet for the Seahawks, but it was a bad game, and it could be a trend.
Rams could keep things interesting, and even the Cardinals, they're not supposed to win games right now, and they almost beat the Commanders.
Yeah, right. Any week one's weird, and you never know what is ultimately going to end up happening. But just Rams, I just felt like was like specific players all of a sudden started really standing out for the Rams. I was like, maybe they're more talented than we gave them credit for.
Yeah. Hey, Chris.
Yes.
You know what really bothers my gate?
What's that?
Can you tell I have a bit of an obsession?
Yeah. For a game that you actually told me that you were not really into.
It's weird. Like I bought a little back into it, and like I'm gonna beat it.
Sure.
But you know what bothers my gate?
Yes.
We have to watch the Jets 4 more times in primetime.
Yeah. that is a bummer. I mean, good for the Jets that for the first time in a decade that they're actually going to be on Sunday Night Football. Like, that hasn't not happened.
Has it really been that long?
It's been a long time. And
oh my god!
Signing Aaron Rodgers.
Holy shit!
To his contract. That got him there. A decade I might be exaggerating, but it was a very, very long time. They had a good stretch.
They're a Thursday Night Football kind of team,
right? Yeah. I'm gonna say it again. I'm not giving up on this team. I know it's easy to do that right now, and there's just a part of me that's just like, what if they just start getting weird? Like, what if they just start getting weird? And I'm holding out hope that maybe they'll be still fun television. Because Garrett Wilson's like one of the best receivers in the league. Like, he's just so good. He's so much fun to watch. I can't get over the defense. Like, he played defense because Zach Wilson couldn't fucking throw a football. He played defense on a ball, batted it, and then while it was still in the air, caught it and fell down into the end zone. And like, what a fucking play that was!
Yep.
Oh god, it's so good.
And that Breece Hall run.
Oh my god, yeah.
So good.
It's gonna be interesting. It's
that Breece Hall that I decided to do daily fantasy again. That Breece Hall run won me $7.
There you go. There we go. Good stuff.
After I bet $3, so net gain of $4.
I should have prepped intro transitions ahead of time.
It's fun.
For this
it's
segment.
Funnier if you improvise them.
Yeah. Matt, you know what? Diet Stewart's my root beer.
Good.
Looking at a bottle on my desk. I am deeply Arthur Smith is such a fascinating figure, and I'm gonna stand by he wins head coach of the year for this team. Drake London had 1 target in the game and 0 catches in that game against the Panthers. And Kyle Pitts, I think, similarly had a close stat line. And it's like, man, like, this is really what he does. He just takes these really talented players. He utilized Tyler Algier at the goal line, and so he got all the fantasy points. And Bijan Robinson did have a significant game.
Oh yeah,
but
he was fine. I have Bijan. He was fine. I was satisfied.
But still, it was just like, man, the way that he just uses players is so bizarre. And yeah, I still believe in the Falcons. I still think they're going to win the division. But it's just like, there is... And someone tried to call him out on it during a press conference, but then he was just like, "Oh, I don't care about fantasy." And it's just
which is fine for a head coach to say.
Which is totally fine. Yeah. But it's also like, I don't think that's the point. You have these talented players, and it's just like, it's amazing that they're not being used. But again, to be fair, if they keep on winning games and in this fashion, then that's not an issue. It's just bizarre that you have Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
My worry. Now, granted, that Desmond Ridder may not be the best passer right now, but my worry is that in negative game scripts, when the Falcons are down and they need to get points, they're still going to run the fucking ball.
Yeah, you're right. It's going to be they're going to just be one of those teams that is going to be fascinating to keep track of, because you're just like, what are they going to do next? Like, you just never know. But decent win for them over the Panthers this past week. All right, it is time for the picks. Last week, Matt, you and I went 9-7. However, there was a difference here, because of the Browns Browns beating the Bengals.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that one. That one hurt. Yeah,
you did not get your guarantee. I got my guarantee and my chaos. You did get your chaos. And so as the points land right now, I have 3 points total, and you have 2 points. So not a bad week. Not a bad first week. I feel like week ones can sometimes be complete crapshoot, and we could be really bad at picking things. So I'll take a 9-7 record out of week one. But without any further ado, Matt, it is time to go ahead and start picking week 2 games. Why don't you get us started?
I shall, but first I did just get a notification that the Jets-Bills game was the most watched Monday night football game in ESPN history.
You know what? Hey, it makes sense. It was a storyline. It was a big storyline. So I get it.
All right, the Minnesota Vikings take on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Vikings losing to an upset to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Eagles winning over the Patriots, but did have some struggle with the Patriots defense. Do you think this Vikings defense can give Philly the same amount of trouble?
No. This is... Last year I made the mistake of believing in the Vikings early on when this game was played, and I'm not making the same mistake again. I am picking the Eagles.
Alrighty. I'm also picking the Eagles.
There you go.
They're a good football team.
They are a good football team. Sometimes it's hard to beat the Patriots on Tom Brady Day. So that's a hard thing to do. The Green Bay Packers at Atlanta Falcons. Packers did take care of business last week against the Bears, while the Falcons took care of business against the Panthers. Both teams sitting at 1-0. What team will go 2-0, Matt?
I think, as much as it pains me to say, I am going to pick the Packers here because their offense just felt more complete. I do think the Falcons stand a chance, but I want to see what Arthur does in a harder matchup before I fully buy into the Falcons winning more games outside of their division.
Yeah, I'm I'm also going with the Packers. Jordan Love, man. Like, I didn't think
He seemed pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't. I think that a lot of people felt like, oh, this might be like the first time the succession plan does not work out for the Packers. Like back when he like started for the Chiefs and had just a rough go of it. But it's been a lot of positive outlook coming into this season, and it kind of proved to itself in that Bears game. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from Jordan Love, much to the chagrin of Bears fans, I'm sure.
Yep. All right, Las Vegas, first place Las Vegas Raiders versus the last place Buffalo Bills. Who do you have in this matchup?
As much of an upset as it is, I'm going to pick the Bills. I still believe in them. I think it was just a rough game, a weird game, and I think that as worried as I am about them, I think that they can sort out their issues.
I am Team Chaosing the Bills. I'm kidding.
I thought you were going to Team Chaos the Raiders. I was like, wow.
No, I'm picking the. I'm picking the Bills here. I think they will still win.
There you go. Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals had a rough game. They did not get really anything going on offense. Browns defense played very, very well. Ravens, on the other hand, did get things going against the Texans. Had a pretty nice game. Offense starting to show that's pretty decent. What do you think is going to happen in this game?
This was a hard one to pick for me. I ended up on the Ravens because I think the Bengals will definitely bounce back. But I did really, really like how the Ravens' offense was looking, even though they unfortunately also lost J.K. Dobbins to an Achilles. But they've got the running backs behind him. Maybe they'll trade for Jonathan Taylor. Probably not, but they might. They might. And then, just get Mark Andrews back. I think their offense is going to be much improved. And then maybe Cincinnati will put it together. But the Ravens do have a pretty solid defense as well. So I'm going to pick the Ravens.
Yeah, I my goal this week was mainly not to overreact to week one. The Bengals were my Super Bowl winners. I still believe in them. I think that they could beat this team. I know the Ravens, they had a great game, and I think that it was a good start for them. I just think these two teams playing each other, they play each other very close. It is a toss-up. I'm just leaning Bengals right now just because I want to believe in them. But Bengals have always had these rough, or at least in the Joe Burrow era, have had rough starts to the season. So who knows? I'm sticking with the Bengals though.
All right. Got a split.
There you go.
Next up, we have the Seahawks coming off their loss to the Rams versus the Lions in Detroit coming off of their win. Will the Lions be able to keep up their momentum, or will the Seahawks bounce back?
Lions had another thing that is worth noting about that game against the Chiefs was that they had Lions fans in the stadium. Somehow a bunch of them, a bunch of them were like, it like took up a lot of space in that stadium. Like they in a day meant to like honor the Super Bowl and get the banner raised for the Chiefs. Like the fact that there was that many Lions fans in the stadium. It was pretty impressive to me. I just feel like this is going to be such a ruckus atmosphere. And I know the Seahawks really took it to them last year. I think the Lions get their revenge. I'm taking the Lions.
I am also taking the Lions.
There you go. Los Angeles Chargers at the Tennessee Titans. Chargers had a close, but ultimately a tough loss against the Dolphins. They now take on this Titans team that Ryan Tannehill had a bad game against the Saints, even though that game ultimately was very close up until the final whistle rather. What do you think's gonna happen?
I think that the Chargers will bounce back from their loss. The Titans looked putrid on offense.
Yeah, I think
very close. By the way, very close to being a go fuck yourself game of the week.
yeah. I'm going with the Chargers. That was just a very close game between two AFC potential juggernauts, and I think that the Chargers are far and away a better team than the Titans are right now. So
1,000,000%. All right, next up we have the Chicago Bears versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield managing to get a win. But as we know about Baker Mayfield, he tends to win his first game and then never again. Do you think Tampa Bay will continue versus the Bears, who, oh God, was I scared watching that game? What do you think?
This is actually legitimately a tough one. I've been going back and forth on it. I just think that I don't really have a lot of faith in this current Bears regime. Not the general manager necessarily. I think they've got good talent. On like they've been doing a good job getting talent, but I'm not really loving the play calling on either side.
Yeah.
And I feel like weirdly like the Bucks. I'm not necessarily putting a lot of faith in them either, but I do like the talent that they have on this team. And I could see them winning this game, and I'm gonna pick them.
I'm also picking the Buccaneers. Like I said, Sunday's game was scary for me with how many fucking pointless screen passes I saw, which is my nightmare. Watching that happen in a Bears uniform, because that happened now with Luke Getsy and Justin Fields. It happened with Matt Nagy and Mitch Trubisky. It happened with fucking Mark Trestman and Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter when. It doesn't matter who. Pointless screen passes are the bane of my existence. And I see it all the time from the fucking Chicago Bears. Yeah. Until they prove me wrong, I can't trust them.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough, man. I'm sorry. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Jacksonville Jaguars. A neat little matchup, a rematch of the playoff game earlier, or back last season. The Jags coming off of a nice victory against the Colts. It was tough, it was close, but they got it done. The Chiefs, of course, getting Travis Kelce back, getting Chris Jones back, should be a different team this time around. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I hate your Team Chaos against the Chiefs 2 weeks in a row.
Okay.
But I'm Team Chaos against the Chiefs 2 weeks in a row.
All right. Hey.
It's 3. I think that's our limit, right? The
spread. 3. I go 3.5, but if you want to do 3, that's fine.
Okay. I couldn't find there was like one other actually that I was looking at that I think was 3.5, but
that's fine. I'll allow it because it is the Chiefs. If you're going up against the Chiefs, I might allow chaos. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, complete opposite of the Bears. Watching the Jaguars on Sunday was a fucking thrill. I am a massive Calvin Ridley fan, so seeing him ball out and then just seeing the offense in general being as good as it was against a surprisingly good Colts team. We'll talk about them later, pretty soon. I am all in on the Jaguars this year. I think they're going to be great. Praise to Lawrence and Ridley.
Yeah, I do think the Jags are in good shape coming in this year, and I think I'm still a little worried about their defense, but yeah, offensively they look like they're getting their pieces together and doing some good things. I can't now, especially with everyone getting healthy for the Chiefs. Or at least coming back, it's hard for me to pick against them in this matchup. But I respect the chaos because
I didn't have a better chaos.
That's fair. No,
in mind.
Hey, I didn't either. We'll see that when that happens.
Cool.
Next up.
All right, Indianapolis Colts versus the Houston Texans. Rookie quarterback battle. Anthony Richardson for the Colts looked really good in his debut. CJ Stroud looked far less good. Is that going to matter this week?
It may. I mean, I don't think CJ Stroud was like terrible, but he was going up against a difficult team, so it didn't quite work out for him. Colts were pretty impressive, and I think we forget a lot about they have some good defensive weapons, specifically DeForest Buckner, on that team. That's makes that team like a somewhat interesting defense situation. I think that they could do a lot with Anthony Richardson. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I think that obviously though this is a division battle, so as in the AFC South, like anything can happen with this. So I'm going to go Colts.
Yeah. I agree. I'm going with the Colts, and I'm also guaranteeing the Colts.
Oh, okay.
I was that impressed by Anthony Richardson's debut performance that I think that he will be able to get it done against the Texans.
Fair enough. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. 49ers had a shellacking against the Steelers, completely destroyed them in week 1 in another surprise game in a lot of ways. They're going up against a Rams team, as we've already talked about, who had a better week 1 than we thought they were going to have. But what's going to happen in this game, Matt?
This division is a little bit tends to be a little bit friskier, especially between these two teams.
Mm-hmm.
However, I think that the defensive line for San Francisco is going to do unspeakable things to the offensive line of Los Angeles. So I think that will get San Francisco the win.
The thing is that the Rams always beat the Seahawks, and the 49ers, I feel like, always beat the Rams. Like, there's just something about that just keeps on happening, and I think it's going to happen again here. I believe in Kyle Shanahan. I believe that this team is one of the best in the league, and I don't think you're not playing the Seahawks this week, Rams, so I as much as I just praised you up and down, this is going to be a tough one for you to win, so I'm going 49ers. Yep.
I agree. New York Giants versus the Arizona Cardinals. New York had a rough go against the Cowboys. But Arizona kind of surprised some folks in getting the almost win against Washington with Josh Jacobs in as quarterback. I was apparently wrong about Clayton Tune being confirmed the starter.
Yeah,
I don't know where I read that.
Yeah,
but I did.
It's okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
I was confused when you said it, but I was just like, you know what? I believe in you. It's okay.
It's fine. You know what? It was a competitive advantage for Gannon. To not reveal between Clayton Tune and Josh Dobbs who your starting quarterback was.
It definitely worked out.
Really got a lot for you. Anyway, who's gonna win?
I'm taking the Giants, and I don't know why I'm doing this to myself, but I never get a chance to do this. I'm guaranteeing the Giants in this one.
Okay. I'm gonna do a mini fucko, and I'm gonna pick the Cardinals.
Mini fucko. Okay, fair enough.
Mini fucko.
Right.
You know, they played better than expected against Washington, and I think they could also play better than expected against the Giants. And if there's anything that Arizona's good at, it's fucking things up that they shouldn't. So they're gonna fuck up getting Caleb Williams.
That's fair. Next up, the New York Jets versus the Dallas Cowboys. Jets. This seemed like it was going to be a hotly contested, very exciting game between Aaron Rodgers and the Cowboys, but that's not going to happen. Instead, you have Zach Wilson going out there for the Jets, going up against a Cowboys team that just dropped 40 on the Giants without giving up a single point. What do you think is going to happen here?
I think that the Dallas Cowboys will win this football game.
I don't.
Oh.
I'm Team Chaosing the Jets. Oh. I was a little heavy-handed about it the entire podcast, to be fair. But look, I maybe I don't know. Maybe all of this is the guarantee of the Giants' chaos against the Cowboys. Maybe there's all the insecurities about the 4-0 game. But I feel like this always happens when a team has like this dominating, incredible game in 1 week, and then they lose the next week. And there's something about the Jets that make me very excited about what could happen in the most wild of scenarios, where they are an amazing defense. Like, that defense is still healthy. They can still torture this offense that did not look amazing against the Giants. And then, yes, Zach Wilson this offense against the Dallas defense is going to be a brutal. It's going to be brutal to try to get through it. But I think in a low-scoring affair, I think that they could edge them out with the weapons that they have around Zach Wilson. So I'm chaosing the Jets.
All right. I like it. I respect it. I'm picking, my turn. My turn now. Washington Commanders take on the Denver Broncos. Commanders coming off of a barely win against the whatever they're called, the Cardinals. The Broncos very close to beating the Raiders. Not quite though. Who do you think in this match will take the victory?
I think the Broncos have a good defense, and there were some early good signs with this offense that maybe things will be a little bit different for them this year. I don't really expect this team to be a playoff team, but I just feel like the Broncos are going to steal this one. I think they're underdogs in this game. Actually, never mind. I think the Commanders are the underdogs. I don't know why that's the case, but I'm gonna go Broncos.
I think I'm going to go Commanders. Actually,
okay. Next,
don't have a
don't have
very solid reason.
That's fine. I mean, they have a good defense, and that should show up potentially.
Yep.
Next up is the Miami Dolphins versus the New England Patriots. Of course, the Patriots had a nice defensive game, but ultimately they struggled to get things going, and were not able to close out the Eagles. And then the Miami Dolphins, meanwhile, coming off of the shootout against the Chargers, things are looking up for one team and down for another. Will that change course at all this week?
I think that the Dolphins are going to have a very fun time on Sunday night, and I'm going to be very excited for them.
Oh, that's right. That's a Sunday Night Football game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Dolphins are going to win it. They have been very good against the Patriots as of late. They've always played the Patriots tough, even during the Tom Brady era. I don't know. I guess I could see a scenario where the defense plays really, really well against Miami, and then like the Miami Dolphins defense, which didn't have like an amazing game against the Chargers, maybe that gets exposed. I can't talk myself into it. I'm going Dolphins.
Okay. Yeah, the Dolphins, like, if Tua is unstoppable when Tua is at 100%.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Monday Night Football, Game 1. New Orleans Saints versus the Carolina Panthers. Saints coming off of a close victory against the Titans. Panthers played the Falcons pretty close for a while and then lost by 2 scores. Do the Panthers have a chance against the Saints team?
I would like to think that this is going to be a close game. Bryce Young showed a little bit of promise in the first game, but I really like the Saints defense a lot. I think that they looked really good in the game against the Titans. Derek Carr needs to clean it up a little bit, but he generally had it was a fine game overall. Jamal Williams had a pretty good running game as well. I'm going to go with the Saints in this one.
I think I will go with the Saints as well. It was close, but I think I got to go with the Saints here.
There you go. And finally, the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Browns coming into this probably riding high off of this win over the Bengals. Their defense really doing most of the work for this team, but really dominated the Cincinnati team. But the Steelers come in, and they are very annoyed about what transpired last Sunday. They did not do well against the 49ers. Will they bounce back against a brutal Browns pass rush?
With what the Browns did to the Bengals, I don't trust the Steelers to do anything against the Browns here. That said, Watson did not play awesome. But they did have a pretty good run game. I still think the Steelers defense will put up more of a fight than the Bengals defense did. I am gonna pick the Browns to win the game though.
Okay. I'm gonna stick with the Steelers. My goal has been in this episode to just not overreact a ton. I think they were playing as much as I wanted the Steelers to win that game, or I picked them to win against the 49ers. They're still the 49ers. That's a tough offense to play against. This is a much easier offense to play against in this game. I think you can easily play well with this defense. I think I am a little concerned about what the Steelers offense will do against the Browns defense, But I think in a close matchup, I think the Steelers will once again have their way with the Browns. And with that, that is 6 disagreements going in to week 2. That is wild. That's loaded right there.
Yeah, for sure.
But we will be back next week as we have gone through. We will have 2 weeks under our belts. We'll be able to kind of recap everything that's gone down. We'll have maybe more solid opinions about everything, about where we think these teams are out coming out of week 2, and we'll see where we are at as a league, and who seems like going to be the dominating force moving forward, and who are going to fall behind. But with that being said, folks, thank you all so much for tuning in, listening to us talk about football, and until then, thank you all so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Good night and good ball.